Hi, I am Jessica Ardeal with the Professional Healers Institute. Thank you for tuning in to crack the code on your body's intelligence, because today's featured expert is leading us into a new phase of optimal performance. He's bridging the latest technology and the wisdom of the body. I'm completely thrilled that you're here with us today. Thank you. Welcome the founder of SENSIEapp, Mike Dannheim. Hi, Mike.
Hi, thank you for having me on. I'm excited.
It's really exciting. I was so thrilled, as I said, to find you and the technology you're bringing forward. So before we get into that groundbreaking announcement, would you mind just sharing a little bit about how you were personally introduced to muscle testing and how it worked for you?
Oh yeah. So my good friend and co-founder, Thomas Gersten, he's a muscle testing practitioner for about 20 years, 25 years. And we were building another technology project, a biometric payment solution for a large cruise line. And while we were building that, we were talking about spiritual concepts and healing modalities that have been really helpful to our lives. And Thomas kept on talking about muscle testing. And I was just like, what is this? And actually, before that, I was also introduced to it in my yoga teacher training. So by Ian Finn, my teacher, he had mentioned it too. And then I heard from Thomas, I'm just like, okay, so two people I really admire were talking about it. And I'm like, I should explore this. And Thomas took me through some AK type identification. So we identified some pathways in my life that were, stressful for me, areas of stress. And it was really insightful. It kind of got my attention. And so then what it became was like, okay, if this is real, if we can actually really do this, can we measure this? And like, I'm sort of obsessive in that way. And so that was the challenge that Thomas and I sort of discussed, was like, if this is really happening and we can really gain these deep insights, and surely we can capture this and measure it. And that was really sort of how I was introduced to it. It was this initial curiosity around a friend. And then like, oh my God, how can we measure this to make it reproducible and like demonstrate to everyone that it's so effective?
I love how your brain works. and taking that, you said, it got your attention. So obviously it spoke some truth to you that only you would be able to validate and know. Is that kind of what did it for you?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I actually think the one that really drove home for me, what really did it for me in terms of the truth, was I had a session with Dr. Ann Jensen, where she identified some stuff from my childhood that I was just like, oh my God, like, how is that even possible? And it was like so accurate. And it was stuff that I had like packaged up and shoved down and totally forgot about. It blew my mind. It blew my mind. So yeah, that put the nail in the coffin, was really the session I had with Dr. Jensen.
I think that's the piece too that really will help people understand muscle testing, is that our bodies are their own technology, right? They're literally recording every experience from before day one, right? So even forming in the womb, they're like, our body intelligence is always with us. So to be able to access that through muscle testing, to me, is really exciting. And even being in it day in and day out and experiencing it and facilitating it for other people, it's still like, wow, how does this really work? So what did you find out about how it worked to be able to translate it? And I don't know if you want a drum roll with your exciting news too. I don't want to wait too long. Please share everything you can.
Yeah. Well, what's funny was that in the measuring of it and translating it into a technical product, we didn't concern ourselves so much with the how initially. We've gotten more into the how of recently as we're going to clinical trials with our technology. But we just went into this like, okay, what are some like gold standards, some baselines that we can measure against to actually see if something's changing in the body and the muscles based on stimulus. And so our initial sort of core research was around deceit. Oxford University points to the verity of the word spoken. So statements like, my name is Mike versus my name is Kate, or I'm alive, I'm dead. So things that are obviously true or false. We did a bunch of statements around that with 108 people around the world. We did stressful imagery versus non-stressful imagery. So you look at a picture, connect to your feelings, and do a gesture. And then stressful sound versus non-stressful sound. And we did a bunch of other research as well, but that was like our initial protocol was on those three topics. And we could differentiate a true from a false statement to about 68, 69% accuracy initially. Imagery was in like the 70 percentile, so we're like 75, 76%. Same with sound. What's amazing though, that we can share on is when we unpacked that data and we looked at it, we actually had the accuracy scores for true-based outcomes. So statements like, my name is Mike, I'm alive, I live in Miami. So true statements. We had 78% accuracy. So statements that were false, my name is Kate, I'm dead, I live in Tokyo. We had signal accuracy around like 48%. So like below chance, which was really informative to us, and I can go on wax on that. I don't know if it's interesting or not, but it informed a lot around our product and like how to help engineer statements so that folks can do muscle testing on their own with better formulated statements. It was really helpful for us. So
yeah, what I hear you sharing is that muscle testing really is a gauge of true and false, stress, no stress. And with your technology and putting it in our hands through the phone, that it can even gauge that without the traditional muscle testing. And even on the panel here, Dr. Bradley Nelson, said we're going to use muscle testing until something else better comes along. And here comes your technology that gives us really a way to use this effortlessly without having to perhaps learn the principles and protocols of muscle testing. So like I said, I can't stop saying it. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that you're making this work for people. So what's the biggest challenge you found then with bringing this technology to the forefront?
Yeah, well, there's been layers of challenges. One has been finding initial support, which we solved for. We're getting some really good support now. And I can talk about that. But I think one of the things that's more interesting, specific about muscle testing, that was a challenge we didn't expect, but then identified, which is the level that we're disembodied as a society. So just for context for people who are watching, the way our technology works is you hold your phone and you have to whip 3 times. So you go 1, 2, 3, and we actually measure the balance of the hand backwards. So measuring the muscles and the Golgi tendons throughout the wrist and the forearm. And I share that because something we were unexpecting when we rolled the technology out was we thought that 3 whips would be super easy. And it is, but what we observed was that 90% of people, when they would do the gesture, would do like 5 or 6 whips, and they felt they did 3 or 4 whips. And so just like very unaware of their bodies. And we thought that maybe we went to like yogis, they'd be higher levels of body awareness, but like surprisingly, no. It was like consistent across populations. And what was cool about that was we developed an algorithm that counts the number of whips that you did. It tells you how many whips you did if you did more than 3 or less than 3. And that little prompt helps guide a person from here or here, wherever they are, back into their bodies. It helps them say, oh, wait, slow down. Okay, I heard myself doing 3 whips. And I mentioned that because that was a challenge, because you need to have a level of body awareness to do a self muscle test. Right?
Right.
You need to have the awareness here. And so we're engineering that. We're developing different algorithms to help bring a person from their head to their heart and into the body. Yeah, I think that what you're doing is so fantastic. I'm super excited because I think having communities for muscle testing is imperative for us to be, help support others coming into looking for good solutions.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, thank you. And, let's go there. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how many people go that I hear. I'll just speak from my own personal experience. I have a lot of clients that will go to the doctor, the tests come back, and often we'll just summarize by saying, oh, well, it's all in your head. Or you start to feel maybe all of this is in my head. What is really going on? Where's the answer? So there's this disconnect that our head is in fact attached to our body. And the body has a response and a reflex system that can actually help give us more information than what's out there. And so do you want to speak to the fact that emotional wellness really starts with accessing part of that piece of the physical, mental, emotional integration as well?
Yeah. I mean, oh my God, yeah. I feel like there's a lot of people who could speak to this probably more eloquently than I can, but I totally acknowledge that from my own perspective and the people we've worked with. We have to embrace our feelings. The more we're rejecting them, the more we're rejecting ourselves, right? Touching on the emotional spectrum part that we've seen is that, if you're perceiving emotions to be negative and positive, which that is something that's been created. There's no such thing as a negative or positive emotion. There's emotions that have stress, and there's emotions that don't have stress, right? It's information. And so if we're cutting ourselves off from feeling the stressful emotions, we're sort of blunting ourselves from being able to feel the deeper, beautiful emotions that we love. They're all part of the spectrum, you know? And so by embracing our feelings, we're really embracing more information and richness that can help cultivate a full life. You know, when we're stuffing and rejecting, we're really cutting ourselves off and creating future problems for ourselves, right? And I wonder, I should say, if that is part of the door that muscle testing can really unlock for folks, is learning how to be comfortable in their bodies and, you know, have awareness of these emotions.
Yeah.
Enrich their lives.
Absolutely. And that body intelligence can express itself. And the one way that I know we can access it is through muscle testing. And so the traditional way that has been pioneered, known as applied kinesiology, biofeedback, there's a lot of different languaging for really the same principles that your body knows the truth. And when there's that fine line, especially out there in the world with seemingly so much stress and distruth, to really be able to come back to ourselves and have that quiet centered space of this is my truth, and then being able to speak your truth, it's just really what gives life expression, right? And the meaning and the point is to be in our creative expression through the body. So what would you like to share? What's the number one thing you want people to know about muscle testing, Mike?
Oh my gosh. I think the number one thing about muscle testing that unlocked for me and in this process, because I didn't really believe in it at first, and then after doing all this research, I was like, oh my gosh. And I think what came true for me in the process was how muscle testing helps you connect to this truth. That you know, I think that so much of human suffering is driven by this external search for like, what's going on with me? Like, oh, can you tell me what's wrong with me? Like, and there's nothing wrong with you. There's something going on, and muscle testing can help you take that power back and help you identify like what is the root. And like, yeah, we still need help. We still need doctors and coaches and support, but it can at least provide this initial pillar to identify what's going on so you can get the appropriate support in the healing aspects, and that is such a powerful thing, especially in this moment in time where there's so much suffering, and muscle testing can do so much good in that regard. It really excites me.
Yeah. Yeah. And we absolutely need doctors. We absolutely need everybody contributing to their fullest potential with what they're here to do. Right. And it comes down to every individual being in that fullest creative expression. So when it comes to the point of, how do we help alleviate suffering with muscle testing? It really comes down to each individual putting that responsibility back in their own hands. Can you speak to a little bit about the difference between traditional muscle testing and using the SENSIEapp to muscle test?
Yeah, I think they're one and the same. So I think to do muscle testing like the best. So I want to bring my product into the world with the most integrity, and to do that, I really need to respect muscle testing. And like the fact is that if you trust your body and you know how to muscle test, you don't really need our technology. And like what SENSIE is just doing is amplifying the signal so that you can learn to trust your body, right? So it's like an amplifier. So all of the things that affect muscle testing still for the most part can affect SENSIE, with the big difference being that if you're unsure when you self-test, SENSIE can help you tremendously and add a lot of value there. And from some of the existing research on the market, we've seen that as like one of the biggest problems with muscle testing, is that people self-report that they're unsure if it was stressed or non-stressed. And like SENSIE can solve that for sure. So long as you stay in an open, curious state. If you're rejecting SENSIE, that might create a stress response and affect the signal. But if you stay open and curious and do the gesture, SENSIE will amplify what's going on with your thought between your mind and your body. Yeah. Did that answer the question?
It did. It makes me wonder if you can give maybe an example of why you would want to pull your phone up, put SENSIE up on the screen, and what would be a question or a dialogue or an example of how you're using it.
Yeah, I'll do one personal that's also like a little bit vulnerable. So I use it all the time, and the way we have it at the moment, we just put our research platform for 3 years, and we just put our consumer V1 out. And in that we have explore mind body skills, which is you can explore your physical energy, emotional energy, and subtle energy. And there's prompts in there that guide you through how to do it and then feel the difference in energy. And then there's check on how you feel. So you can immediately check in to see if stress is present. If stress is present, we then have what's called the perceived stress scale, which is a clinically validated stress scale. We took that and fitted it to Sensi so that you can identify where in your life the stress might be coming from. And so a personal example for me is that I did it, and when I was like stress-free, and it's like work, finances, well-being, 9 different topics. And I got to intimate life, and we had a baby recently, my wife and I, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. But I say that as a precursor to this. So for intimate life, the statement is my intimate relationships are healthy. And I did the gesture, and it said stress detected. And immediately my like primal monkey brain was like, oh, that's not true. That's not true. And then I like just sat for a second and stayed open. And I was like, oh no, it's totally true. Like since we've had the baby, since we have Charlie, our daughter, I've totally neglected my wife. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, right, so I need to go talk to my wife. So I went and talked to my wife. She felt the same way. We had a connection, and cleared it. And in that moment, I realized like we were on the precipice of like a gnarly fight because there was stress building between us that I wasn't even paying attention to because we've been neglecting each other, on this healthy component of intimacy. And like, the fact is we're living in this period of time where life is coming at us so fast, and so by the fact of that speed, we're compartmentalizing and stuffing things so we can keep up with our life. And that's the value that Sensi is doing, is it helps you check in and identify in a methodological way. I don't know if I said that right, but in a very, organized way, identify, a place in your life that stress might be coming from that you might be unaware of. And so then you can take action, change it, and live a great life, right?
Thank you so much for sharing that. And it really it speaks to so much, right? And we do need to get back to basics in a lot of different ways in order to find that peace within us and be in a healthy communicative relationship with ourselves and our people that we love most in our lives. And really that extends throughout the whole, human population. We really are at a pivotal time where coming together and recognizing that this gift that we all share, that we can tap into with love and care, is really what can guide us into the next phase of how we're experiencing life on Earth. Mike, I want to thank you so much for everything you do. Sincerely, I'm a huge fan. Is there anything you want to share before we go?
Totally. What you just hit on, I think, is so important, and want to amplify that so much that I think that's what muscle testing holds. You said, as we move into this next chapter of like our humanity, or that's something to that point. And that's, I think, the unlock that muscle testing is offering, is that we need to move in. I think we are moving into this more connected culture where we're more connected and supportive of one another. And for that to happen, I have to be connected to my heart, and I have to care about myself, and I have to be connected to my truth in order for me to care about a community. And if I'm connected to a community, I'm more likely to then care about my environment, right? And I think that that's what muscle testing really holds the unlock for, is for the individual to start to care and love themselves and start to reclaim their truth so that they can feel connected to a community and not siloed and isolated, which is such a big problem right now. It's leading to a lot of illness and disease. So I love that you said that, and I just wanted to you said that really quickly. I'm like, oh my God, that is so powerful what you just said, and thank you for the work you're doing to support that. It's been awesome. So.
Mike, thanks. Yeah, I really, really appreciate connecting with you. I'm looking forward to bringing more discussion and tools for people out into the world with your help. You're really taking the technology of our society and bringing the technology of the body together in a way that's going to put healthcare in our hands and unlock universal healthcare for all of us, because we all matter. And thank you again so much. I look forward to more, and we'll say bye for now.
Likewise, thank you.